Warpugs, what's the scariest dinosaur you've never heard of? ExtinctZoo is going to inform me of this because, frankly, I'm in the mood to find out. The sheer fact of the matter is, Warpugs, I love dinosaurs. I have loved dinosaurs since I was a kid, and that was a very long time ago. Oh god, I'm old. Guys, somebody please tell me what in the world I am doing right now, because, to be honest with you, I'm looking at a picture of my worst nightmare, which is the Jurassic World franchise. They screwed it up. Oh god. Oh, I hate Hollywood. I'm not gonna go on a rant. 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 Obvious bad guy is obvious. The series. Obvious bad guy is obvious. The series. Can we please? Anyhow, guys. ExtinctZoo. The scariest dinosaur I've never heard of. I actually hope to be surprised here. I hope I don't know this one. Just to be completely and totally honest with you guys. We will find out. It is definitely not the Velociraptor, because the Velociraptor is the size of a dog. We've all heard of that. In any case, Warpugs, shutting up, moving in. All ExtinctZoo's links are going to be in the description down below. Please go check them out. So far, we've learned some, well, pretty awful ways to get got in the ancient world, okay? We've seen the most brutal deaths, the most horrific deaths. Like, literally, we have seen the fossil record of absolute brutality. Plus some pretty cool specimens. Like, if you never saw the fighting dinosaurs before we checked out ExtinctZoo last week, that is one of the best, period, as far as just the way that they were preserved is just so insane to me. How they managed to be preserved, both of them relatively intact in that particular way, where the Protoceratops and the Velociraptor were basically caught in death with each other, fighting. You gotta love it. Let's go. ExtinctZoo, let's go.
Jurassic World was released. We gotta look at the first hybrid dinosaur in the series,
the
Indominus Rex.
Yeah.
Which was a proprietary blend of a variety of animals and...
Okay, so I never really took a look at this, so let's take a look. Let's just take a look. Well, Carnotaurus, Velociraptor, Tyrannosaur, Gigantosaur, Quilosaurus, Rugops, Bivinator. I'm not even going to attempt that. Tree frog, cuttlefish, the Rhinoceros, which, to be honest with you, I can see it. I can't even pronounce that. Deinosuchus, pit viper. Okay. Why would you put cuttlefish? Why?
Dinosaurs. Then, not so long after, we got our second hybrid in Fallen Kingdom, the Indoraptor, sometimes nicknamed the Indominus Raptor.
The dumbest period ever under any circumstances. I'm sorry if you thought that movie was good. Like, you're shooting a laser at a target so this thing can run up on it. Why don't you just shoot the target with a gun?
A horror movie worthy creation that enjoyed the perks of a body much larger than what's seen in most real dromaeosaurs, but still retaining a crazy level of agility, a sickle toe claw, and perhaps the hardest to miss, a set of Slender Man-like arms equipped with claws that would put Freddy Krueger to shame. And while it may be smaller than the Indominus Rex, this wombo combo of features certainly makes it a bit creepier, despite sharing many similarities. And it's no mystery why these two creatures share some aspects, as the Indoraptor itself was pretty much inspired by the question of what would happen if you combine the Indominus Rex with a real Velociraptor. But as it so turns out, we don't have to ask that question, because nature kind of already answered it for us.
Oh?
Just a really, really long time ago. About 150 million years ago, to be exact. As it was then, during the Mesozoic, that a family of theropods emerged who were strikingly similar in appearance to the Indoraptor, but were in some ways even more bizarre and arguably more deadly.
Okay.
These were the Megaraptorans. Like the Indoraptor, this group is shrouded in secrecy and mystery thanks to the minimal fossil record. And to date, researchers can't even agree on where they come from or what they are. But there is no argument that they would have made for the perfect Jurassic Park villains, as each one followed the same nightmarish body plan, which included this. What you're seeing here isn't a giant sickle claw on some supersized raptor's foot, but a hand of all things. And it belonged to the Megaraptor, the holotype for the family and the first Megaraptoran to be discovered.
Okay.
Being unearthed in Argentina before the turn of the century.
I know about this
And
one.
as its name suggests, paleontologists thought they had originally found a gigantic raptor, based on its massive claw, which they believed to have belonged to a foot.
Right.
However, we now know that this was a hand claw that sat on its first finger, and that it measured a whopping 30 centimeters or 12 inches,
Yeah.
making it about the same length as the longest Bowie knives in existence, or
In other words, it's a walking war crime. Let's go.
just as long as your typical ruler. This also meant that the Megaraptor literally had the longest claws of any predatory animal ever, a title that would only be beaten by none other than one of its own. As over the next 2 decades, many new genera belonging to this family were discovered, with a few being even scarier than their predecessor. And now the total number of Megaraptorans sits at 11 different genera.
This right here is what I envision the Mothman as like, only with wings.
And crazily enough, these additional discoveries wound up teaching us that Megaraptorans' iconic weapons were somehow much more lethal than first thought, as these theropods didn't just have one built-in sword, but 2.
Yay.
As their second finger had their own enlarged recurved claws that were just like the first, i.e., shockingly sharp and very long. And what's crazy is that their claws were likely even longer in real life, as they were most likely covered in a keratinous sheath that might have added an additional 30% in length. And now, while the third finger did not have giant claws like the first and second, it was still razor sharp and powerful. But what made these claws truly deadly wasn't only their shape and size,
Right.
but also what backed them up, so to speak.
Okay.
As Megaraptorans had robust and proportionally large arms and hands that would have given theropods like the Tyrannosaurus rex some pretty major insecurities.
Homeboy's thick.
These arms were roped in thick muscles, and the bones were constructed in a way that made them durable and highly flexible, allowing Megaraptorans to freely maneuver their weapons around with speed, and letting them be used as either a sword or spear, depending on how they were feeling.
Congratulations.
Which in both cases would lead to catastrophic flesh wounds and massive internal damage. And even the death of the victim wouldn't have stopped the claw's onslaught, since researchers think that Megaraptorans likely used their claws to rake carcasses and tear bodies apart, allowing them to access hard-to-reach meat and disembowel their food. Now at this point I could stop here and still have it be plenty clear on why it would suck to be hunted by Megaraptorans. Yet this isn't the full picture.
Cool.
Oh no. As to truly understand the extent of their brutality, we have to talk about prey body size. You see, if a dinosaur was large enough, it's thought that Megaraptorans would have hunted it by using giant fatal claw strikes and slashes to bring it down, before dicing their victim up into smaller edible pieces. This sounds bad enough. However, this is actually the lesser of 2 evils. As for smaller dinosaurs, including what would be human-sized ones,
Right.
Megaraptorans did something much more unpleasant. They would first catch their prey, grip them, and pierce them like a shish kebab with their giant hooks, and then while they were still possibly alive, eat them. Kind of like a person eating a piece of pizza, only that the pizza's alive, has been impaled, and is definitely screaming. We know this is a possibility, as Megaraptorans all had hyper-flexible and well-developed shoulders that were unlike anything seen in most predators, implying a wide range of motion and the ability to lift things upwards towards their waiting mouths.
Nice.
And despite not being as deadly as their horrendous claws, their mouths were no joke either, and in some ways were actually more interesting. Because unlike most predators that have similar teeth to their relatives, the Megaraptorans had vastly different ones among them, each seeming to take inspiration from other notorious dinosaurs. For example, the Megaraptor had similar frontal teeth similar to those seen in Tyrannosauroids, being chisel-like and having a D-shaped cross-section.
Almost serrated too.
Meanwhile, the Raptor's front teeth were like fangs of all things.
Lice.
It got weirder though, as others, such as the Strollovinator and Orcaraptor,
Australvinator. You don't have to tell me it came from Australia. Just looking at it, I can tell.
had teeth more like Compsognathids and Dromaeosaurs, with the front sides being smooth and flat, while the backs were serrated and designed to cut.
Okay.
And the mimicking continued with the Fukuiraptor, who might have had the least visually appealing teeth of them all, with its laterally compressed blade-like dentition, which highly resembled the Carcharodontosaurus, who, as you may know, is rather well known for possessing shark-like teeth. Now what's interesting is that studies have shown that Megaraptorans probably couldn't bite down or open their mouths with that much force. But given just how efficiently designed their teeth were, that wasn't really an issue to have another bite, especially when you remember that the arms already had more than enough killing potential as it was. It's here in the teeth that the Megaraptorans also arguably get a win over the Indoraptor, because despite the Indoraptor's teeth looking
Okay, the Indoraptor looks like somebody punched, like, Chucky in the face. The Indoraptor's so stupid.
kind of scary, they were quite small and designed more for gripping rather than tearing or puncturing.
Right.
And nature's own monstrosities take the prize in size as well, because of all the members we know of, the closest to the stature of the Indoraptor would have been the Aerostion, an Argentinian genus who weighed 1.1 tons and measured 7.5 meters or 25 feet, nearly identical to the stats of Dr. Wu's creation. But the crazy thing is that this is actually considered to be on the medium size for this family, not large, as they could get much bigger. In fact, nearly half of the Megaraptorans were larger than an Indoraptor, with the Orcoraptor, Megaraptor, and the Trataenia all being over 8 meters in length. And at this size, some of them were the largest predators in their environment, and a few achieved some even more impressive feats, as currently the largest Australian theropod is thought to have been a Megaraptoran, a fitting animal for a country well known for their messed up wildlife. Still, it wasn't in Australia that you would find the
Why? Why would you do that to me?
largest member. Far from it.
Oh.
As to meet a real giant, you'd have had to travel back to late Cretaceous Argentina, where if you were seriously
I knew about Megaraptors. I did not know. I thought that was just like maybe one or two. I did not know it was this many, and I did not know this much about them. I had no idea about no idea.
lucky, you would have encountered the Maip.
Maip?
Yes, you heard that right. The Maip. But let me tell you, this somewhat funny sounding name does not do it justice, as in reality, nothing about this giant theropod was comedic, especially for its prey. Not only was it the largest member in its family, but it was also a massive theropod in general, with recovered bones suggesting a length of up to 10 meters or 33 feet, longer than the length seen in the biggest conclusive Allosaurus specimens. At this size, Maip was no doubt the biggest and baddest theropod in Argentina, and likely preyed upon pretty much everything, including a variety of ankylosaurs, hadrosaurs, and ornithopods. It might have even been able to hunt a coexisting titanosaur, the Nolatitan, by using its massive claws to tear and grip it, while its mouth could then be used to deal additional damage.
Right.
And while no claw belonging to this beast has been found yet, researchers estimate, based on its closest living relatives, that they were at least 37.5 centimeters or 15 inches long.
Man, hell no. Hell no. No. And then remember what he said on the back of that. It could have had extra, there could have been more, 30% more added to that.
Giving it the title of the predator with the largest claws, even when including Freddy Krueger in the running. And this is a notion that is adequately reflected by its name, which while may not sound intimidating in English, actually has a very sinister meaning.
Yay.
It references a creature in Aonakink mythology known as the Shadow of Death that kills with cold wind.
Sweet!
So yeah. Coming through a forest clearing and seeing one of these guys, or really any Megaraptoran for that matter, would have been a heart-thumping moment.
Yeah.
But what might really stop your heart is seeing one start to run, because the moment it lifted its foot, you'd suddenly realize that they were much faster than they should have been. And there's a reason for that. Many dinosaurs have hollow or pneumatized bones, meaning they were filled with air pockets. But in Megaraptorans, this pneumatization was taken to an extreme level. So extreme that only one other theropod is known to rival their hollowness, and that's the Neovenator. And what's interesting is that all of their bones possess this characteristic.
Now, this right here is why the one of the prevailing theories was they evolved, that dinosaurs. I'm an idiot. Dinosaurs evolved into birds because they were seeing this particular pattern in the bones. And this is the same thing that happens with bird bones.
But the ilium, vertebrae, and ribs were especially hollow, which together made Megaraptorans very light for their sizes. For example, the Megaraptor was only around 1 ton, while an Allosaurus of similar length might have been 50% heavier. And it got even crazier than this,
Okay.
as some, like the Australovenator, might have been no more than 310 kilos or 680 pounds,
Huh?
despite being over 6 meters or 20 feet in length,
Oh my.
which leads some paleontologists to think that certain genera were the cheetahs of their time. This surprising lightness
That would have been terrifying to watch coming towards you. Something that big moving that fast? Hell no.
helped turn this group into very agile and speedy killers, kind of like prehistoric ninja with giant shukos, and would have let even the larger ones chase down prey smaller than themselves, and stage stealthy ambushes. Not to mention, they also had leg bones that were relatively slender and similar in construction to those seen in Coelurosaurs, implying yet again more adaptations meant for running. And no surprise, such a design worked wonderfully to the misfortune of others.
Why, it's a little guy. Leave that little guy alone. He's just got little dumpy legs. Oh, we gotta go
To
back.
those seen in Coelurosaurs, implying yet again more adaptations meant for running. And no surprise,
Look at his little dumpy legs. Why they gotta show this guy getting chased down? He just got little dumpy legs. He's trying.
such a
Little
design
guy's
worked
trying.
wonderfully to the misfortune of others. But unfortunately
Oh.
for them, this others could even include themselves, as fossil records have shown. Specifically, a Raptor specimen, an Argentinian genus, was found with a severely infected brain case, which is thought to have originated from 2 different puncture marks on the side of its skull that lo and behold matched the teeth found in its own mouth, meaning it came from a rival.
Yay.
The extent of the infection was so severe that the team who studied the skull believed that there is a greater than 50% chance that the individual succumbed to its injuries. But it is this aggressive attitude combined with its build that ultimately allowed the Megaraptorans to establish an expansive dominion, with species being known from 3 different continents: Australia, Asia, and South America, with Argentina, Australia, Thailand, and Japan having been strongholds for members. In these countries, if you wanted to avoid running into one of these real-life Freddy Kruegers,
Beef. It's what's for dinner.
you would have needed to steer clear from any sources of water, as Megaraptorans typically lived in wet environments, namely fluvial areas and coastlines, where prey would have been abundant and diverse. There's even some speculation that some members may have opportunistically hunted marine and semi-aquatic animals, such as crocodilians, large turtles, and big fish.
Yay.
In fact, once upon a time, paleontologists actually thought that hunting in the water was really the Megaraptorans' main way of acquiring food, with the idea that they use their large claws to ensnare and spear fish. But nowadays, based on all their other adaptations, it's believed to be an unlikely story, and there's near universal agreement that they were simply terrestrial hunters, who were many times the sole apex predators in their environment.
Okay.
However, this wasn't always the case, and fossil records indicate that they had quite the rivalry with Carcharodontosaurids, who were sometimes even bigger and specialized to tackle big game. This competition took place mainly in South America, and during it, the Megaraptorans preferred to play into their agility and speed, since it was only after the extinction of Carcharodontosauridae, 90 million years ago, that they underwent a rapid size increase.
Leave that little guy alone. He didn't do nothing to you.
But funnily enough, despite their competition with the Carcharodontosauridae, they coincidentally shared a similar brain case shape and design, leading to some thinking that the two would compete.
Dude, that thing looks like Satan. I'm not even gonna lie. But it looks so cool. I'm not even gonna lie. It looks so cool.
Intelligence levels. Now, admittedly, Carcharodontosaurids are no Indoraptor when it comes to intelligence, but they have been compared to crocodiles, who despite misconceptions can actually be quite smart, and are known to occasionally set traps, coordinate,
Occasionally?
and once in a while use tools to lure prey.
Huh.
So that's all to say, if any of this rubbed off on the Carcharodontosauridae, and thereby Megaraptorans, neighboring herbivores would have been in for quite the nasty surprise. Despite this shared similarity and the two's close but questionable relationship, Megaraptorans are currently believed not to be part of the Carcharodontosauria,
Okay.
and actually, no one really knows what these enigmatic killers were. Obviously they have their own family, but to which group of theropods they belong to is unknown. As their name suggests, originally paleontologists thought they were giant dromaeosaurs, but this has since been discarded since they don't have enlarged toe claws. Then they thought that Megaraptorans are part of the Neoventoridae, given the similar hollowed bones, but that didn't last either. And since then, 2 new schools of thought have emerged, with one side believing them to be tyrannosauroids, meaning their closest relatives were possibly tyrannosaurids, or there were simply non-tyrannosauroid Coelurosaurs, which doesn't really tell us much either. And the mystery surrounding this group doesn't end with classification, as we also don't know where they come from. Currently, the best guess is that they originated in Asia, possibly during the final days of the Jurassic. From there, they wound up in Australia sometime in the early Cretaceous. After that, they ended up doing very well and became highly diversified, eventually carrying on their conquest to South America, likely arriving there via Antarctica. So quite the explorers, on top of being the perfect killing machines.
It's amazing how much the planet has changed, and just in the last, 200 million years from what we would really recognize. I mean, I live in the Appalachian Mountains, and this used to be a much, much taller range than it is, and it has just eroded over time. You can't even really begin to understand and put together the amount of time that has passed since these things were alive.
And actually, they were
just
so
mentally you
and
can't.
Simply existing that you could make the argument that Megaraptoran traits were more effective than what other theropods had. Because if you compare this group's survival time against others, it's basically a clean sweep. For example, Tyrannosauridae achieved an existence of about 16 million years. Spinosauridae, 46 million, Carcharodontosauridae, 64, Megalosauridae, 25 million, and you get the idea. Meanwhile, the Megaraptorans clocked an existence spanning over 84 million years, making them among the longest-lived dinosaur groups, period.
Nice!
And opposed to some animals that tend to get smaller through time, it seems that they only got scarier and more overpowered, as the last iteration and surviving member happened to be the biggest and arguably the most deadly.
Nice!
And of course, I'm talking about the Maip itself. And when you have a family as messed up as this, it really makes you wonder, how did they even go extinct? Well, it turns out that
Big Rock
herself couldn't get the job done. Because like the non-avian dinosaurs as a whole, the Megaraptorans were only wiped out after a giant meteor slammed into the Earth 66 million years ago.
There we go.
Putting an end to all non-avian dinosaurs and the last of the Megaraptorans.
One of the things that I watched that kind of blew my mind, I watched a timeline of the actual impact, what the impact would look like, cross-reference data, everything like that, tsunamis, overpressure, all this kind of stuff, ejecta, the whole 9 yards. It covered everything. As a bunch of graphs projected in real time over 8 hours, and it was one of the most surreal things. I let it play when I was doing some other stuff in the background. I just kept on looking over and just going, my God, because of just how horrible this impact was. You don't even have a concept for it.
And to this day, we're still waiting for a new animal to pop up that has claws even close to as impressive as theirs. Thanks for watching, and until next time on Extinct Zoo.
So, I did know that the Megaraptors existed. I did not know there were so many new species of them. Especially, so I knew, God, it's been years, Warpugs, it's been years. But I was still a kid when the Megaraptors had been discovered. I read about them, but the Maip, I had no idea about, and that thing's terrifying, okay? The fact that they would have those claws on their front hands, on their frontal limbs, actually makes them, in my mind, just so much more threatening than than dinosaurs that would have them on their forelimbs. On their, oh my God, my brain is fried, Warpugs. On their feet. Don't judge me. I just finished, losing my mind for a little bit there. Don't worry about it. But when you sit down and think about it, if they had a lifespan consisting of that amount of time, in most, we've been here less than 200,000 years. What are we gonna say as far as how effective we've been as a species? Because, my God, man, those things were around forever and a day. We can't even begin to understand the length of time it has been since the time of Pangea. You just can't even factor it into your head, the amount of landscape changes, the way the map has changed. It is actually mind-numbing to even consider. God, and it's why I love stuff like this, because the sheer fact of the matter is, you really get a sense of just how much time has gone by. The numbers just don't even compute for us. Warpugs, let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Am I losing my mind? ExtinctZoo's links are going to be in the comments, in the description down below. Please check them out. This was amazing. I think the last time I really sat down and listened to, anybody talk about dinosaurs was probably about 4 months ago. And it wasn't about these things at all. Guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I will catch you guys next time.